And I find that in my journey, what I've seen is most people like talking to their Uber driver more than they do their CPA or their chartered accountant, which is scary, given that we're supposed to be a trusted advisor. And so what we've seen when people roll out Practice Ignition is there's clear terms and pricing and services to be delivered agreed on up front. That then removes the notion of debtors being a problem later, even if part of the fees are charged in advance. They deliver the service, client is already contracted in to pay the fee, so that's not a problem. And the client gets what they paid for. Now, if the client changes their mind, which we all know that they never do, no, kidding, they do quite regularly, you can vary the agreement, the client signs off on the adjustment, they know what they're going to be charged for it, and they get what it is they paid for. And so we tend to find is accounts receivable typically goes to zero because just like every other business model in the world, contract is linked to invoice and payment for delivery of good or service using PI. And the other part is that scope creep is better managed. And so the loss of, let's call it hourly billing for scary terminology, but that fee that you might miss out on because you haven't asked the client or told the client how much something additional is going to cost, it now becomes really easy to manage. It takes about 30 seconds. You can call the client, they can view the additional work, they can sign off on it, and the terms and the payments that go with it. And so typically what we find is accounts receivable goes to zero, scope creep ceases to exist, and that miscommunication or client satisfaction actually increases because they know what it is that they're going to actually receive for what their payment is. There's no more sort of surprise bills. Now, amongst everything else in terms of efficiencies on workflow, the ability to connect and automate other systems, those two things around profitability, cash flow, payments, and client happiness are typically the things that we see increase the most or decrease in the case of accounts receivable. So that's a very basic plug, but it does make a whole lot of sense when you think about how all those other businesses run, i.e. e-commerce and software subscription businesses.